Hi there, my name is William Michael Forbes, and I'm honored to be here with you today, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to channel Master Sananda. And I want to bring in my partner here, Norma Jean, because she's going to be my support person here.
Hi everyone.
The idea of channeling Master Jesus Christ came to us yesterday morning, actually, when Norma was lying in bed.
Yeah, and I just woke up with my eye was really bothering me, and so William was he's
I'm a Reiki master.
Reiki master, so he started doing some Reiki on me to help heal my eye, and then
all of a sudden a voice of Jesus spoke in my head and said, "You're doing it the wrong way." And I said, "What do you mean I'm doing it the wrong way?" And it just proceeded into a full-on conversation out loud between myself, Master Jesus, and Norma Jean, he said, "You don't let energy flow passively through your body into the other. You move your awareness into the place where you want the healing to occur." And so I did. I moved my awareness literally into her eyeball. And
but it was a process as well of bringing the energy up and out, and so he demonstrated how to do it, and it cleared my eye like 80%. And then Jesus said, "You don't learn by doing it for others; that I have to do it myself."
So she got.
So then I had to do it myself, but it was amazing. So that was the origin or the beginning of chatting with him about that aspect of that he was a healer, and
the reasons he chose to be a healer, and why he elected for that modality as the primary way of teaching. And he's going to get into that more. He says he'll tell you all about it in a moment.
Yeah.
But suffice to say, she was required to finish the other 20% of her eye, which she did actually. It was gone in just a couple minutes after that.
Yeah. So.
And then from that point forward, all day long yesterday, after that, he said to me very clearly, he said, "Tomorrow I want you to go live and share these messages that I'm sharing with you two, with those who are open and ready to hear that which is true, and they will know." And he's saying this to me right now. "You will know that it is you that I speak with, for you will feel it, and in the feeling you'll know the truth. For the truth does not come in the words, the truth comes in the feeling." And so it was like that all day. He talked to us all day, literally, and showed us, things, how simple life really can be. When you get your head out of the way, when you're coming from your heart, when you have no ill intent for yourself or others, and you're clear about respecting all parts of life around you. And doors will open for you, literally. He says that. Doors will open. And we watched yesterday, everywhere we went, open doors for us.
It was uncanny.
Traffic would stop for us and let us cross for no apparent reason. We'd nail the cab down to go out, and all the cars just stopped and let us walk. So there's a whole process that is available to every single human being who can adjust their consciousness properly. And I'm going to let him get into more of that.
And come from here. Yeah, so...
And the way this is going to play out, Norman...
yes.
We're going to let Master Jesus speak, and then at the end of whatever he wishes to determine as the end, Norma will take questions from anybody in the audience that wants to ask him questions about what he's spoken on, and she'll also have a list of questions that she's compiled out of curiosity too.
Yeah. So I'm going to exit frame, and if anyone has any questions, just type them in. All right.
Okay, now let's make sure you're all set there too,
yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this has been a very fascinating journey for me to know that I can talk to these non-physical beings, and there's if you dare to engage in the process of believing and knowing that there are ways that you can connect beings on so many different levels, it's as magical as like cell phones, really, that you can call somebody on the other side of the world even though they're not physically with you. But the same is true for non-physical beings. So without further ado, I'm going to let him come in. He's saying the time is really now for anything that has to occur for humanity to avert unnecessary travesty. And any travesty that has or will occur is a direct a direct result of man's negligence of the laws of love. He's saying the primary reason that I chose healing as a modality was not to heal people or to make myself more special than any other person, but to demonstrate that within all of us is this great power that I call the Father, that you might call Spirit or God or energy or whatever you choose to label it as in your familiar language. But the reality is, when you tap into that power, it will do whatever you wish to do, good or bad, because it simply says ask. So in healing, people were given immediate demonstrations that there was something that could change their lives instantaneously. It could affect many people very quickly, especially with those who were severely diseased. It would be a matter of just knowing that I am not separate from that consciousness that is in them is in me. And the very nature of my alignment to this power that you call God, that you call Spirit, that you call oneness, it is and will always be our alignment to, or our misalignment to that, with that power that will allow things to flow through. There are some of you who know of these concepts, but there's still a greater number that doubt them. And doubt is a matter of not believing, not about believing in me as your Savior, but in believing in the power that beats your heart and digests your food and circulates your blood. He's saying a lot of you people are confused about the current models of healing that exist in the world today. Your medical system, he's saying, is not a healing system. It is a stopgap. True healing is knowing how to unite with that intelligence in all things and to place your love and awareness there. For your true awareness, that which you are outside of every thought that you think that is you, or everything that you think represents who you are, or anything you've accumulated, or any people, places, or circumstance that you identify yourself as being you. When you realize that you are not separate from any of that, that those don't make up you, that you just are. In your essence, you are love. And when you place love into anything, it gives life. My work, therefore, was to teach people how to have more life. Literally, to tap into that infinite intelligence that is resident in all matter. The only thing that makes it different is the form. So healing was a matter of moving consciousness into a unity place where there's no separation between that which is being observed and that which is observing. When those two join together without separation, there is a oneness there, a unity between yourself and your Creator. And at that point, there is no you or the Creator. You are. You just are. And it is at that point that all healing occurs. And it is spontaneous and it is natural. He says it's like you're hooking yourself up to a high-powered line that's a new source that, for all intents and purposes, you hook up to it, but you're already hooked up to it. But to know that you're hooked up to it is the distinguishing place where you end separation. Let me simplify this. You can heal with a single touch, but it is not the touch that heals. It's the connection in consciousness between that which is reaching and that which is reached. And in that place, you'll know true healing. So if you wish to heal a disease, you cannot do it with fear. You cannot heal with doubt. You cannot heal in anger. The purpose of healing was not specifically just to heal a body. The purpose in healing was also to understand the relationship that you have with all things and the wholeness that you have the ability to cultivate and be aware of, or from which you may choose to be separate from. But in choosing to be separate from anything, you create disharmony and pain. To end your disharmony and pain, you must restore wholeness. So healing extends to all things. Your planet, as you call it, is in dire straits right now. And it is not because there's anything wrong with the planet. The separateness that this human family has cultivated through the acquiring of material things in the belief that material things will add more onto your life than the life that is already within you that adds to you each day. And that the collective consciousness of humanity is affecting the consciousness of this planet, which in turn has a life of its own and interacts with solar and galactic influences on this plane of consciousness. And he's saying, on this plane, there are many planes. So to understand that the collective vibration of humanity is predominantly that of fear today, that there are only a handful of those connected to Source, unseparated from all that is, that maintain the integrity of this sphere. What do you mean by that? He means that it is being held together by the love of a few, but that the fear of the many is a force, and like any force can be measured and is creating impacts. There will be great changes environmentally, as you're seeing now on the planet. These are not effects of natural disasters, but these are effects of errors in consciousness and feeling that are continually being projected into and around everyone. And only those who are conscious of their ability to stay centered in love can maintain the integrity of the whole system. To be able to reduce the frequencies of fear on the planet in the mass consciousness, that is, all of the individuals that make up the race of humanity, to reduce fear and control is the only practical path to eliminating what you would call catastrophe. He's saying, in reality, there is no catastrophe, there is only change. Individuality is merely the expression of change. So if you wish to preserve the reality that you find yourself in now, it can only be done through love. It cannot be done through fear or anger or guilt or shame. And there are those of you who have given up some of this. But it takes effort, it takes time, it's patience. Healing is not just about a physical body that you live in. It is about honoring the overall equality and interconnectedness of all things. In the human condition, you have the ability to separate yourself from all other things and change your perception of what you believe is your reality. When you damage or destroy things or people, you are literally reorganizing the matter that you live in to reflect that vibration, that energy. At any time, you are free to change the vibration of that energy if you wish, with a single sound, with a single breath, with an intention of love and goodness. But to remain in fear means that you will produce very specific results to the fear. It does not mean that your life will terminate in the overall sense that you do not no longer cease to exist, but there will be those of you who will not know that you do. The ones that we say are dead and know it not are those who are so separated from their interrelatedness with all things, not realizing that whatever we do to others, we do to ourselves. Whatever we do to anything, we do to ourselves. And that illusion of separation, that there's something other than you, there's something other than me, there's something else, and I'm not part of it. That, he says, maintains the illusion of fear. Because if you are not separate from all that is, How could you ever possibly believe that anything could ever harm you? For all that is in creation would then be with you as you. To move through time, space, and matter as you do now is a great opportunity to learn on this dimension who you truly are and what the purpose and meaning of that is. He's saying, do not get focused on the pain. Stop focusing on the pain. Stop focusing on the anger. Stop focusing on your guilt and your past and your shames. Focus on what you can experience, which is love and joy and happiness. Give those your heart and soul. And the world around you will change in the most wonderful ways. It was never meant to be hard work. Look out in a forest. The forest does not need to work to rebuild itself, to regrow itself. It just does. So too have you that in you that do that in this human world. But all acts that do not proceed from love will then proceed from fear. Fear is the manufacturer of all disease, whereas love is the manufacturer of all bliss. So I chose healing very specifically to demonstrate to those who are open to learn that should they so choose the path of healing, which is love, that they too could align themselves eternally, consciously, with a power that builds universes and cells and babies and animals. He says the animals are the most innocent among you, and the innocents are suffering. He says the valuations of life that you have today are not much different than they were many centuries ago. It's just that the negative effects of your evaluations on life overall is increased by the numbers of people that are on the planet today. The energy is increased, so the destructiveness is amplified. It expands because there's more of you interacting with this energy unconsciously. But I came here to teach you to consciously interact, to know that when you interact from love, then all that can interact with you is love. If you interact with fear, then all that can interact with you is fear. If you interact with the world with anger, then only anger can interact with you. And whether you think you may escape the actions of a single lifetime, by the ending of that lifetime, you are mistaken. For you are one with all that is and cannot separate yourself from the effects of your own causes. Individuality was a great blessing through which you could knowingly know your relationship to all that is. And you have the choice to sustain that or not. We are returning. He's saying many masters are returning now. We are returning now to give humanity the opportunity to remember its connection, to not idolize us or others, but to find within that grand connection that beats the heart of all humanity. To give up ideas that would harm another soul, be they man, woman, child. There need be no idea to harm, no need to harm. The only reason one would wish harm is because one does not believe that they have all that they need. And many argue, and I've heard this argue, well, it's because of this organization and this group that suffering's on the planet. It's everybody. Everybody must agree to surrender. Everybody must agree to surrender fear. To surrender it. And the minute fear is surrendered, healing occurs. You go to your drugstores, you go to your doctors to sustain your diseases now. Yes? That's what most people do now. They sustain their diseases. They don't heal them, because healing a disease is healed. When love touches anything, it heals. If love were to reach out to you right now and touch the top of your head and that feeling pour into your body, you'd know it. You'd feel it. And you'd know, I've been touched by love. And that love would heal you wherever you would let it and allow it to go. Because it must be allowed. There were many that I could not heal, that would not allow love. And if you're unwilling to allow love, then all you will have is fear and pain and what you call death. So I chose healing for that very reason, that I could demonstrate that you could know that you have your own connection to the source, that I was not that connection to your source. You have your own connection to it. But I showed you that it existed, that it responded to you. And now you must learn to respond to it. Listen to it. Feel it in you. When you feel fear in your mind or uncertainty, turn your attention away. This one here was very scared to do this yesterday when I suggested. Go live. Talk live with me. And he was very scared. And even a few minutes before. And I totally agree with what he's saying, because I was shaking, literally shaking. And Norma had to keep saying, calm down, calm down. But he went through the fear, and all of you must go through your fears, whatever they may be. It may be the fear of surrendering too much of something that you have, so that others may benefit. You might have fear around surrendering, but the belief that there is a lack in infinite intelligence is the lie that you tell yourself to maintain your hoarding. Is the word he's saying. Hoarding. There's many people that are hoarding because of their fear. They're not hoarding to flout that they have more. They're hoarding because they're afraid. Because in nature does not hoard. Okay. He'll take questions now.
Okay, so Sherry Ann has asked, when someone needs healing after grieving, should they take on some type of hobby to get their minds off of grieving, especially around the holidays? She gives an example of her mom, who likes to paint. It took her mom a long time to start painting again since her father passed. She had painted Jesus just before her dad passed, and she just painted Santa Claus recently.
This is a good question, and I would bring you back to the reality. The idea that something is lost is a lie that you can tell yourself. You cannot lose anyone or anything from, he's saying, the oneness. The idea of separation is impossible he's saying, in his Father's kingdom. There is no separation. The taking of your attention off the sadness, the taking of your attention off the grieving, to learn to rejoice that the being is not lost, but has just changed what you would call frequency. From a convention, he's saying, from a conventional standpoint, any activity that will take your attention off your suffering is a good thing. For when you take your attention off your suffering, you will not be suffering, because you're not giving it attention. So, anything one could do that will take their attention from fear, from suffering, from pain, from grieving, is a good thing. Too many people believe in separation, he says. Too many people think there's this thing called separation, and that's the big illusion. Another question?
Yeah, so my question is exactly that. Separation, duality. That this does not exist, but we believe in it for a reason, and I would like to understand why we're put here to have this illusion of that, and at the same time, but it's not real. So, so what exactly are we here to learn? I think I know the answer, but
Okay, he's saying, yes, you do know the answer, but I will say this for everybody who's present, because many have similar concerns in their mind. I'm getting a block here for a second. The concept of separation is illusory. One body or another is the same. Although to your perception through these senses, these physical senses, you might differentiate one from another. But if you are connected to the essential consciousness, how was a better way? If you're able to connect, he's saying, if you're able to connect to the essential consciousness, the string of energy, he's saying, or life, that moves simultaneously through all things. And it really doesn't move, he says. It's there. But if you feel it, if you know it, if you look to the person beside you and feel that there's no separation, you will move into the oneness, and then all things around you will begin to move with you, and they do anyway. The reason you came was to learn that you are not separate. You didn't come here to be separate. You came here to learn about not being separate. And your form was just a means of doing that, before you'll return back to that which you are part of, and you are still now. But you don't have to leave where you are to find that which you seek, for that which you seek is where you are.
Okay, so thank you. Mate has a question. He says, Yesha, is that another name for Jesus? Can you please tell us about your second coming?
Well, asking me about a second coming, he says, is like asking me about a first coming. There's only one life. In terms of a physical manifestation, I am already here, and any of you may speak with me. I am not separate from any. I and the Father are one. I and the consciousness are one. You may turn in if you seek to know who you are. Turn within. You can ask me and I can communicate with you. But know that when I speak to you, that I am you that speaks. The goal is to end the separation, so that the natural flow of love is restored on this dimension. For your mind's sake, you still measure things in terms of beginnings and endings, life and death, up and down. And as long as you use that measure, then you will be thinking, well, there must be a second coming, another physical Christ that comes into this being. But you are all Christ, but know it not. You are all Christ and know it not. So I am already here, as evidenced by the fact that I'm speaking through this one. Or if you turn inside and ask a question, he's saying, I will answer it if you listen. He's emphasizing, if you listen. He's really emphasizing you have to listen without the chatter. Shut off your chatter. Stillness and listen. He's saying, if it's really important to so many of you that I manufacture a new physical body and come as Jesus Christ, your Savior, if that will work to wake you up, I will do that. And I have done that. And it is done again, he says. It will be revealed to you in the next 2 years. If that is what is required, that is what will occur.
Okay, so Kristen says, I often hear that our bodies will heal more often as we move onward, or she's saying inward, as your energy increases here on Earth. Is that true?
There's two meanings there. The first is are we capable of healing and regenerating our bodies through time and space as we acquire more knowledge and awareness and connectedness? Absolutely. If you put pressure through a dirty garden hose, you can blow out all the dirt that's in there and clear the hose and have a good strong flow. Ultimately, you want to connect to the feeling self that is love, that is you, and allow that to be awakened again in all of your body, all of your cells. He says, your cells in your body are individual beings. Every cell in your body is an individual being that awaits instructions from you. And the instructions to the cells are based on feelings. What you feel, they will execute, carry out, he says. So I would recommend you focus more on the feeling nature that you communicate to all the millions of beings that make up what you call your body. But they follow your instructions. And they're following everybody's instructions. Suffering is an effect as love is an effect. So learn to communicate the feeling. As you progress in that feeling, so too will the state of, that you call health progress in your body. The restoration process of the body is as simple as a seed being planted in the ground. We know a tree will come up. So yes, as you get connected to the feeling, and he's showing like a cord saying, if you plug in to that feeling, you plug your body into that feeling, it will flow and fill the rest of the body and restore it.
Are there things that we can do that will bring us to that feeling?
That's a good question. Some people can sing and bring themselves to that feeling. If you like to sing, you might sing. If you like to dance, you might dance. If you like to sit and just be, just be. You will know inside the form that you reside in what is most conducive for it. It could be a breath of air. Saying it could be looking at birds. But do not look outside yourself for that feeling. For that feeling will always be temporary if you seek it outside of your temple. You have all the ingredients in you to access that feeling right now. Right now, you can feel it in your heart. Move your center to your heart. Your center, your awareness to your heart, and feel it. You might find an acceleration the minute you move your awareness, so the heart starts to beat a little faster. But the feeling of excitement, because there's an intelligence that you are part of, that you're reconnecting to consciously. So that's another method. Anything else? Find ways of... Yeah, no, he says that's enough. I'd like to add to that too, but you can all, from my personal experience, meditation works for my body really well, for getting myself into the present moment. He says he doesn't need to do anything. He just is. He doesn't need to do a thing. He says, but he demonstrates what he is to teach those that wish to demonstrate who they are. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Humor.
Yes.
So Paula asks, how were you able to heal people, and what holds us back from doing the same? Did you say in the Bible we would do greater works than these? ? Thank you, and I love you.
Okay, he's saying there's two things he wishes to clear up. First, not to get caught up in the historical interpretations of my actions and deeds. For the proof of my actions and deeds will not come from a book but your own experience of what you do. To come to the place of healing, your awareness, in your awareness, that part of you that is outside of thinking, that part of you is the, how do I say that, finger, is like the finger. And he's showing me a picture of Michelangelo's God. Your awareness is the finger of God that can touch your body. But there must be nothing between you and that. Your awareness is love. So to cultivate that love is to get anything out of your awareness that is not that which is love. Spontaneous healings come from, he says, many of the healings I did not come from me, but came from them that carried out that which they said I did. So it was always resident within you to heal that which you think needs healing. And it comes from a feeling. He's got this song playing in the background, feelings, nothing more than feelings. Literally, that's the key. He's saying that is the key. Feelings. The proper feelings, he's emphasizing the proper feelings. When you can cultivate the proper feelings from the basics of possibility, he's saying of hope, of excitement, enthusiasm, joy, happiness, bliss. Ultimately, those feelings take you up to a place where there is no separate feelings. There's just this state of absolute connectedness. And in that, there is no death or disease. No death or disease. Imagine that, eh?
Okay, so Frater, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, says, brilliant revelation, my enlightened brother. I think he's talking to you, William, or Jesus as well. And then he has a question. What's the primary blockage that prevent this transformation?
It comes back to feeling. There are different levels because of this physical thing you call your body, that it needs to be clear. So while there can be emotional information that prevents the feelings that you need to be expressed in your world, you have to clear them out of the body as well as out of your mind. The two work together. You may have a feeling, he's saying, you may have a feeling of great wealth, but you don't feel it in your body. You may have a feeling of great health, but you don't feel it in your body. Or you have the idea of these things, but do not feel them in your body. Or you have contradicting information being presented around you that will trip you up, pull you out of yourself into, he's saying, into another person's interpretation of what they think your reality is. So it's important to understand how to formulate your one-pointed place of not being separate and to feel that which you wish to feel completely. So that even around you, okay, I'll tell him in a second. Even around you, you begin to feel the bliss of your being in all things. Yesterday when we went out to do some Christmas shopping, Norma will verify this, when I'm in crowded places, I feel a little crowded and irritated, and I want people to be out of my way. And one of the things he said to me, he said, just watch today, you're going to learn a lot today. And I said, okay, sure. So we're going into the Eden Center, and I want to get around the people that are in front of us, right? And so I start walking a little quicker, and all of a sudden these people suddenly move directly in front of us and slow down. And then he said to me, what are you going to feel? What do you want to feel? Do you want to feel irritated, or do you want to feel joy and excitement? I said, well, joy and excitement. So all of a sudden, I suddenly began to look at the movements with the idea that we were all dancing and moving and playing together. That was the thought I put in my head. And the feeling that came from that thought was like, this is fun. And all of a sudden, every time we made a turn, these people would suddenly cut in front of us and stop and literally start slowing us right down. And all of a sudden, I just started laughing. I mean, she was there and she was like, she got it, but she's a little more patient than I am. So Norm and I were just laughing, going through this incredibly crowded mall, having a splendid time, being connected to everybody, not separated from anything. And he said, that's how life is. It's all like that. We are not separated. When you find and know and understand that inseparable reality, wherever you will be in bliss. And the creative process that humanity currently has will change. Because if you know you're not separate from anything, that everything has your best interest in heart as you have its, then you will do no harm. And the type of society that you evolve and the things and the structures that you create will be magnificent in a whole other way. And we are moving in that direction.
Thank you. Kristen asks, will we be growing our foods more locally in the future rather than being able to purchase them from the grocery stores?
He's giggling at the idea of purchasing food at grocery stores. He says, your statement is quite correct. To grow your own food is very important, for it cultivates a relationship of nurturing and kindness towards the mother and her children. Not to mention the benefits of food that you have a relationship with, and if you share that food with others, they benefit from the relationship you have with that food. Mass-produced foods are designed specifically just to feed people and do not cultivate the quality of relationship that is available for those who choose to cultivate their own food. He's saying there's more than enough space on this planet for everybody to find a way to cultivate their own food. More than enough space for that. It is time that your schools bring this back, to teach children to grow flowers, to understand the wonder of what their caring does. But what you have is a system that teaches to go into the system to figure out what you can get. And you now need to shift your educational modality to what is it we give? What do we give? So yes, simply put, he says, yes. Hi, Kristen.
So Kelly's asking, in reference to that as well, is that why there has been so many recalls? Is this to get us to grow and or buy locally?
There are two ways that responsibility comes about. The first way is through choice. The second way is through error. So when errors occur and people get sick, people are offered a choice to change the method that's causing the sickness or not. Because some people will repeat it. Some people do the same thing many times. You say many times, like, oh my gosh, how long are you people going to keep doing this over and over and over again? So yeah, yeah.
So in regards to eating vegan, less meat, is that something we should be doing?
He says, from his perspective, absolutely. That is the way to ideally go. There are some that have not understood the sustaining factor of consciousness, nor what they imbue their food with. He's saying when you go to eat food or drink something, if you do not have a relationship with it, a connection to it, it will only impact you to a limited degree, positively or negatively. If you cultivate a relationship with the foods you consume, regardless of what they are, they will have a beneficial effect on you. But to consume the life of the planet for the sake of appetite is absolute insanity, he says. He's saying to consume the animal forms, to treat them with the disregard you treat them, from his perspective, is one of the most deplorable things humanity is doing right now. If someone were to walk into your city and gather up your children and put them in pens and begin to process them for food, how would you react? How would you react? How would any person react? People would be up in arms, he says. They'd be up in arms. And you would not allow it. He's getting very emotional right now. I didn't think you were going to do that. He's saying that his heart cries when he looks at all the children that suffer at the hands of other children. He says every individual expression is no different than a cell in your body, all part and parcel of the same. And is not the least cell equally valuable as any other part of the body? He says, we think that because, one is not going to hurt, that it doesn't hurt. But he says, you harm one, you harm all. Yeah. That's going to change, he said. The vibrations that are cast forth from these beings that you intentionally harm has an impact on the consciousness of the material realm that you exist in. He's saying the fear and sadness and disappointment that these beings have been given by your treatment of them places a great stress on the heart of both the mother and the father. He's saying father, he's referring to the physical sun, the actual sun, that it is reacting and responding to what we do here. So that should be a sufficient answer.
I'm a little emotional now, but okay. So Matei is asking, Dear Yesha, can you tell us about the new earth, please?
There are many levels of being that you call physical and non-physical, dimensions if you like, and a limitless spectrum of degrees of consciousness within that. The new earth is a vibratory plane. He's saying it's a vibration that you may or may not resonate with. You can alter and change the resonant frequency that you harbor, and that will bring you to a different state or plane of consciousness. And the new earth is an actual vibratory plane of consciousness, much the same way as a sound wave being spoken from this body, for example, is a frequency that you cannot see, but you know its effects by the hearing of the sound. But you can change the frequency of the sound so you don't even hear it. So when you change your frequency, your emotional frequency, he says, be very specific. It's your emotional frequency you wish to change. Bring your emotional frequency as high to love as you can, and what happens in one earth will not be the same as what happens in another, or another, or another. For he's saying these words, my Father's house hath many mansions, and there are an unlimited number of possibilities that each of you have and may engage in, as you are engaging in this one, is just one of a limitless number. So to know the truth of that, alter your frequency. You may he's saying you may glimpse these other dimensions when you can differentiate yourself, he's saying yourself as in your individual awareness, from what you think of as your self, body. And he's saying sense, feel what is beyond what your senses would normally tell you is real. Okay, and I'm interpreting that to mean to actually not sense what you can, not to sense with your 5 physical senses, but to sense with your knowing sense, which is non-physical. Get your mind quiet, get your body quiet, forget them, and then ask to be shown.
Okay, I'm going to go back on the food thing because it triggered me. And I have a question. So I have a little dog, and I think of eating meat like eating her. And you just made another reference, sorry, to babies, which is emotional. So how do we keep light and love in our heart, at the same time recognizing what's going on, and how do we spread that information with love?
He says you're already doing it.
Yeah.
He says you're already doing it. But he's saying, he wants to say to you, your heart is very dear, and you know the truth of right and wrong. And you must honor that by example, to live the way you would like to show others to live, while understanding that they that do not live according to what is right are living in pain and suffering. For you can only do unto life what you do unto yourself. So those who suffer cause others to suffer. So end your suffering and be an example of living in love. And if you're an example of living in love, it will correct around you. It will expand, just as fear contracts when love is present.
Okay.
Okay, I'm wondering about time. He says he can keep going. Is there more questions?
We have a compliment. Fracture is saying, for certain, you are a direct channel to which the word of the truth spills out into the open. A real light to which we, who are in tuned, draw great benefit. Thank you for bringing us to this amazing sanctuary of Christ consciousness.
He says to say to you, we are one in the light, and we are one in love, as all are in truth. I think we'll end it there.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for coming in today. JC is saying blessings to all of you, dear ones. Those that understood the meaning and the feelings communicated through this transmission are saying you have to own those feelings as yours, not as coming from me or from this one, but to own the feelings of your experience as your own innate self emerging. And it is through the greater awareness of that which you are that the vibratory frequencies of this plane will surely change to match the divine template, which is the eternal love of the one consciousness. Again, thank you for coming. We're going to upload this video onto our YouTube channel where you can watch it there. And at our YouTube channel, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe and like the video. And please share this with others. And do you want to say goodbye? Come and say goodbye?
Oh, okay. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day. We're going to step out and... Thanks, JC.